So this is a look at everything that you receive when you unbox the Spellbinders BetterPress LetterPress system. So this all comes in a small thin box, obviously big enough to fit the whole machine, but it comes packed fairly contained. So the items that are included in the box are, of course, the chase, which is the bottom part, and the platen, which is the top. You have an instruction manual. You have I believe it's an exclusive BetterPress plate design. You get a little sampler of the different cotton fibers that Spellbinders offers, and then also a black ink pad. So I am going to go ahead and set aside a couple of items. I think having the instruction guide is always a great thing to have near you when you're first getting started. It gives you all of the details. Oh, I did forget to mention that you do get some of that yellow best ever craft tape because you'll notice when we start getting into the video, you do tape your papers to the platen to keep them in place. So you also get some of that. Now you have great pictured step-by-step instructions to tell you how to achieve the BetterPress LetterPress. It's got some tips and techniques and some really lovely sample ideas. Now let's take a look at the chase and the platen. So the platen is the top piece, and it tears down with these little magnets. You'll notice mine, I've been, bringing samples and testing, so it has a little bit of wear and tear from running it through. Not a big deal at all. That just means your product's getting used, and that's a good thing. Now, the chase, which is the bottom piece, also has this nice thick magnetic um, panel. I'm not sure what else to call it. This is what your better press plates adhere to so that they stay in place. And then something that I actually had no idea was included in the machine because mine were tucked underneath the magnetic plate. I actually didn't know until Clarissa Wiley sent Heather and I a text message and asking us, how many shims did your better press come with? And Heather and I both were like, they're shims. So we did a little search, and underneath the magnetic, there are three shims. I watched a little video on the Spellbinders website, and they actually say to leave the three shims in place until you start using extremely thick paper. So I've just been leaving them in place. If you feel like you're getting too much pressure when you're doing your better press, I would maybe go ahead and remove one or two or however many until you feel like you're getting better results. Now, you'll notice my better press is used when you am using ink and inking up those plates. You get ink on that magnetic plate that's there. It cleans up. Some of the inks do stay, so not a big deal. The one thing that I did notice on the Spellbinders website is that you can actually order a replacement magnetic plate, and you can actually also order a replacement platen, and they're about $15 each. So if it starts to get too dirty or messy, or you feel like your platen is getting a little worn out, you absolutely can replace them, which is really nice. So now let's talk about inks. So Spellbinders, they came out with their own selection of BetterPress inks. These are really crisp and lovely. They work perfectly with water-based techniques like watercolor. There's a pretty good color range, and I think that they are a good set of inks to have in your arsenal if you're wanting to start this BetterPress journey. As we go through today's video, though, you're going to see that other inks work as well. So I think that these inks are fantastic and they're crisp and they're lovely and there's a good color range. But I am going to show you today that you don't have to exclusively use these colors. I think that they're worth having because if you want to use the letterpress for water-based techniques, you've got a really lovely selection of inks that are waterproof and they won't bleed when you apply that water-based technique to your image. I think most of them come with a refill. For now, I've actually just gone ahead and grabbed the refill for the BetterPress Black. I figure over time, as I figure out which colors that I will use more than others, which I think this tawny brown is going to end up being one of them, I will purchase the refills as they go. So, with that being said, this is a Pinkfresh Studio release video. So, kind of seems currently that I'm talking only about the Spellbinders product. That's because this is a press plate release, and we created these press plate designs to work with these Spellbinders Better Press. And in this video today, I really wanted to give you guys a nice, great overview of the letterpress in general. So, something else that I wanted to mention, we're going to go over all of the new slate designs from Pinkfresh Studio here in just a minute. But I also wanted to mention that we are going to be carrying all of this product in our shop. So, kind of a one-stop shopping process, if for lack of better terms. So, you'll be able to pick up a BetterPress machine. You can pick up the Spellbinders BetterPress inks. I believe we are going to have refills. And we are also going to have a selection of the Spellbinders Better Press papers as well. I think we're sticking in the whites. I don't think we are going to carry the grays, but don't quote me on that because I don't do the ordering for that. So I think we are going to mostly stick to the whiter toned papers. Now I wanted to mention something really quick about that. Well, the Spellbinders papers are stunning and definitely worthwhile to have. I wanted to mention that any plant based or cotton based paper will work beautifully with letterpress. That includes our watercolor paper, which is technically not released yet. This is going to release in early 2024 when we also release our liquid watercolor. So be on the lookout for this. It is lovely. It's 140 pound. It's a nice natural white. So it's very thick. It's cold pressed, so it has that little bit of texture. It is manufactured in Germany and it's just lovely. Light fade resistant, acid free, archival. It's 100% plant based. And we're excited to release this, but this is not releasing quite yet. You will see samples that I've used or that I have created today using this watercolor paper. But I wanted to mention right up front that it is not currently available, but it will be available in early 2024. Now, if you have any other type of watercolor papers in hand, they should work. So feel free to grab those with your BetterPress and try them out and see how it goes. Before we take the BetterPress on a test run, let's take a look at all of the new designs of press plates that we are releasing today at Pinkfresh Studio. So up first is Medallion Border. Now all of our press plate designs have a coordinating die. You can use them or not use them, completely up to you. But we wanted to make them pretty versatile. We have a really lovely border. We are going to actually use this in full on a card today. I'm going to show a lot of like pieces of a card coming together, but this one we will for sure use in an entire card coming together. We have a few different shapes. This is the floral octagon as coordinating die. This is our floral round, and then the floral square. They are not the exact same designs or flowers. There are some similarities, and we thought that those would be a really lovely addition to our release. Now we have this deco sentiment backdrop. Really fun. You can add a sentiment right into the middle there. We have a couple of new florals. This is called Beautiful Roses. And then this is Camellias. Both of those are designed by the talented Emily Midget. Now this one I think is going to be a fan favorite. This is our fairy tale frame. If you look at the back, it's just these lovely, dainty, delicate flowers. I think this is going to be a showstopper. And then, of course, it has a coordinating die. Also cuts out that middle, making it super versatile. Now, this is a really lovely background called Ornate Trellis. This one's really fun. I think that you're going to love it. And of course, the die can actually also be used on its own. So, super fun. And then finally, we are coming out with a sentiment set. This is called Favorite Things Sentiments. There are 8 different sentiments. There's a combination of kind of larger scripty sentiments and then just some standard serifs. And then every single sentiment also offers a die just to make it more versatile. So those are all of the press plate designs today. I don't think my video is going to showcase them all, but I'm going to showcase as many as I possibly can. So I'm going to clean up my desktop real quick and we will take this BetterPress for a spin. All right, so let's just start having some fun with our BetterPress machine. The only thing that I can suggest is just get in there and start trying to use it. I think that's my best advice. You've got the instruction manual. There's a lot of videos out there also created with the BetterPress. So there is a ton of video education at your fingertips. I'm sure you can probably just search BetterPress here on YouTube and find a lot. So we are going to use this new Beautiful Roses plate for our first little demo. So I'm going to go ahead and take the platen off. So it just hooks to it with these magnets here. And let's go ahead and put our press plate onto our chase. Pardon me. I'm trying to remember all of the terms of everything. So this piece is magnet, so your place, or excuse me, your plate stays right in place. It's very nice. And then the thing about the platen is it does not matter which way you place it. You can put this on any way you want. Your letters and your words and stuff may be upside down, but really, who cares about that? So let's go ahead and grab a piece of, I'm going to use a piece of watercolor paper today. This is the Pinkfresh Studio watercolor paper. You can also use any of the papers that Spellbinders offers, or go ahead and grab any watercolor paper that you might have in your stash and go ahead and use that. It's perfectly fine. So uh, there's these guidelines on the platen that you use to line up the paper with the foil plates. I like to cut the paper a little bit larger. I know that that might seem a little bit wasteful, but the great thing is if there's an area of the watercolor paper or just cotton-based paper that you don't use, you can always um, press a sentiment there, or you can use it as a test piece when you are using your watercolors. So watercolor paper never goes to waste in my area. I'll always use it for something, but I do like to have a little bit bigger of an area or a bigger bit piece of paper, pardon me, so that I know I'm getting good coverage over top of the plate. So you'll see I've taped it in place. I know that tape is not going to be interfered with the press plate, so that part is ready to go. I am going to use this Tawny Brown ink from the BetterPress ink because it's water friendly. And I know that this one I'm going to want to use a watercolor technique with flowers, so perfect time. So all you're going to do is you are going to tap and twist. And you don't have to twist real hard, you don't have to push real hard, but I've just found this little twisty method really helps get the ink on that plate. So we're just going to take our time to make sure the entire plate is nice and covered with ink. Don't worry if you get some ink on your magnetic panel. It'll wipe off. It may stain it, but it will still absolutely wipe clean when all is said and done. So I think we're good. I think we have enough ink on our plate. So let's go ahead, flip our plate over, and adhere it down with the magnets in place. And then we're going to take our die cut machine. Now, the BetterPress is the same width of their Glimmer hot foil system. Sorry, my black die cut machine throws off my exposure on my video. Anyway, what I was saying is BetterPress is the same width as their Glimmer hot foil system. So any die cut machine that the Glimmer hot foil system works in, the BetterPress will work as well. I'm just using a Spellbinders Platinum 6. I know there's a lot of Sizzix machines out there that also work. So you've got a lot of options. Your best bet is to check out spellbinders.com. My assumption is on their site, they probably have a nice comprehensive list that will work. So, but a good rule of thumb is if the Glimmer hot foil system works in your die cut machine, then the Spellbinders BetterPress will also. So let's take a look and see. Just pull our magnet sheet up here and just look at. Go ahead and release the paper here from our platen. And I wish that video showed just how beautiful this ink is all pressed in. It's pretty much almost impossible to capture on video, but with the cotton-based or the plant-based paper, it's just absolutely lovely. With stamping, your ink is sitting on top of the paper surface, whereas with the BetterPress LetterPress, it's using pressure and the details of this metal plate to actually push the ink into the paper. So you've got more of a debossed look, is maybe what I think might be, versus a embossed or sitting on the surface. So it's really, really gorgeous. Now, to clean these off, this is just a damp cloth. I like to start just by getting any excess off as possible. Now, I'm going to say this. I am just using rubbing alcohol to clean these. I am not going to say that this is endorsed by anyone because there is a special coating on these plates. So far, they're fine. My plates are fine. I'm not having any issues with them working after cleaning them off with alcohol. But I am not going to say that's endorsed by anyone, and I have absolutely zero knowledge if this will affect the coating over time. So my thing is clean them at your own risk. Um, when if using alcohol, I have just decided that I think it will be fine. And over time, I'll let you guys know if I've noticed any difference. But so far, so good. I've cleaned every single one with rubbing alcohol, and it has not been a problem. So that is a look at our first part for our first test of BetterPress. This is pretty simple. It was just pressing with the one color. I want to show you guys this card. This is watercolor. What I have done with, I used basically this same image. Came this. This is the new upcoming Pinkfresh Studio liquid watercolor in Coral Reef and Warm Buff. And isn't that just so pretty? This is also one of the sentiment sets that were coming out, and I used the BetterPress ink in for the sentiment. This is also our new glitter paper. This is the champagne colored glitter paper. It matches those two browns so beautifully. So definitely something to look at. Okay, so we have talked about how Spellbinders created their own ink. That goes with the BetterPress perfectly, and that's what I used on that last sample. But let's start exploring other options. So we are going to use this floral square frame, and I am going to ink it up in this Galaxy Gold. It's pigment ink. So one thing I've noticed about pigment ink is if it's too juicy, too saturated, it actually doesn't work as well. This pad's a little bit older. It's not as juicy anymore. And so I am going to ink up this floral square frame in this gold pigment ink, and let's take a look at how it turns out. All right, I feel like I've got pretty good coverage there. Don't worry about the ink that got on the side. It will come off when we're done. I've already taped my paper down. So let's go ahead and run this guy through a machine and see how it turns out. Mm. So same as the glimmer, I don't really feel the need to run BetterPress back and forth. I feel like just one time through is perfect. Sorry, I have limited space here, so um, it's a little bit of a adjustment to pull that out. Let's take a look and see how this gold pigment ink turned out. And look at how stunning that is. Now, something that you can't see in video because it's pretty much impossible to capture in video is how sparkly this is. So this gold pigment ink specifically has a really lovely shimmery tone to it. It doesn't capture in video very well, but when you see it in real life, it is just utterly stunning. Now I'm looking at it and I think I got a little bit more pressure here than I did up here. So it's possible I maybe should have centered this. So good stuff to know. The only way that you learn these things is by testing it, but still absolutely usable. Like there's nothing about this that is unusable. It's just I notice we got a little bit more pressure down here and a little bit less pressure. So something that is really fun with pigmenting is once it's dry, it is also water friendly. Now, this is a different shape, but this is the octagon version. And so I created a background with the octagon and did like a fun watercolor wash around the edges with our Humming Ballet Slipper liquid watercolor. And then I went ahead and I did another version of the octagon in that same gold pigmenting. And I cut it and popped it up and so you can see a little bit of the other flowers popping out from underneath. So really super fun. This is some more of our glitter paper in ivory and gold. And then this is one of those sentiments that I included or that are included in our sentiment set. And speaking of our detail black ink also works perfectly with the Spellbinders BetterPress. So it's nice and crisp. So also something to keep in mind when you are testing out all of your different inks. So super fun card. I wish you could see the shimmer of the pigment ink because it is really lovely. But don't be afraid to uh, try the BetterPress out with all of the different inks that you have on hand. Can't promise that every single one of them will work, but it's always worth a try. Speaking of the BetterPress working with other inks, I wanted to show you guys this card. Now, I created this card live on the Pinkfresh Studio YouTube channel about 3 weeks ago, I believe. That's when we started doing sneak peeks. And all of this ink that I have used is Pinkfresh Studio ink. So the background and the main sentiment are our pigment inks. We featured Cherry Blossom, and I believe Sunkissed, and that this is Begonia. And then this is our detail black ink, just to showcase again how crisp and lovely it works. Now, I'm not going to showcase how to create this card because I've already done that. So I will add a link to that live if you would like to check it out and watch this card come to life. But here in just a minute, we are going to use more Pinkfresh Studio dye inks to create with the letterpress. But something that's really exciting that we found out when we got our press plates in and we started testing out using them, different ways to use them. Now, something to keep in mind about premium dye inks is you cannot use them with water-based techniques because they are a water-based dye, so they will bleed when you apply water to them. If you're wanting to just use the color by itself with no coloring, then you have all 72 of our ink colors at your fingertips. for using with our press plates, which is really exciting. We actually didn't know that was an option when we got these going and started manufacturing them. So that is a pleasant surprise for us, and we really love how it turned out. So we are going to use our premium dye inks on a card, and we're going to create a full card together next. Okay, so we are going to try our hand at a really bright fresh rainbow. So all of the cards that I have shown you already, they're that pastel, creamy, kind of typical Leah color palette. But rainbows are also one of my favorite color palettes. And so I wanted to explore with the elegance and the technique of letterpress. I wanted to see how it turned out with a Pinkfresh Studio rainbow. So I kind of picked some of our classic colors for the rainbow, going from candy apple to clementine to sweet mustard, key lime, aquamarine, and then candy violet. We're starting and ending with the candies, apparently. I didn't pick a pink. I thought this was probably a good starting point. We'll see if they even all make it. I have no idea. I haven't made this card yet. And we are going to try it with this fun border press plate called Medallion Border. I thought that this one would be a really good test for this because it's got some nice solid areas in it, but then it also has some really lovely intricate areas. So we are going to use the guidelines here, ooh, excuse me, as our marker. And we'll use the die later. So then this is actually one of the Spellbinders papers, cotton papers, because it was in the sampler. I don't know exactly which one it is, but it's definitely one of the ones that lends itself to be a little bit more, a little bit whiter. So it's got a little bit more of a white tone than that kind of cream or gray. And I just want to make sure. So I think some of the dye or part of it is maybe going to end up being cut off, but that's okay. Um, I still have some fun ideas for this, and I apologize if I just bumped the camera. I think it'll still work. We're going to see. Like I said, I haven't created this card yet. So we're doing this together, friends. It just so happens that I am doing it on video. You'll get to see it afterwards. But we're still doing it together. Okay, let's start with candy apple. Now I am going to arrange my desk here a little bit, get some stuff out of my way so that I have a little bit of room. Okay, so we're going to start with candy apple. Now, cubes might be a little bit easier for this, but I'm just going to go with what is easy to grab on my desktop here. So with what I've found when using dye ink with these instead of the Spellbinders specific BetterPress ink is take your time, be slow, make sure you're getting good coverage on there, and that little twist that I'm doing really helps get it coated. Now you'll see I have a lot of excess ink, which I think could be avoided if I had gone ahead and grabbed my cubes, but my cubes need to be re-inked, and I haven't had a chance to do them yet, whereas my full-size pads just recently got a spa day. So we're going to go with the full size, and I will just work around cleaning off the excess. Okay, so we've got the red ink on there. Let's attach the pattern to the chase. I'm going to go ahead and grab my die cut machine real quick. That always throws my exposure off a little bit because the sky is black. And let's go ahead and run it through. Right. So we have got color number 1 down. So let's take a look and see how the results turned out on this guy. And look at that. It turned out just utterly lovely. I absolutely love this. Okay, let's go ahead and wipe down. get all of that dye ink off here. And I'm going to leave this here. Actually, I'm not. So I am going to do the next one so I know where this hits. So the thing I love about this magnetic panel is you've got these guidelines here, and it matches up pretty darn well with that. So I know that if I just move the plate down to this next line, I will not interfere with the red layer. In the end, I'm going to die cut these, friends. So you can give yourself more room if you want to, whatever you want to do. I'm going to die cut these because I'm going to want to layer them. For now, I want to have some room in order to be able to uh, really create these. So next, we are going to use Clementine to make sure everything is nice and dry. And we are going to do the same exact process. We are going to ink this up. Like I said, I think cubes would give you a little bit more control over not getting all that excess ink on the background or on the magnetic plate. As I mentioned before, my cubes need a refill. So we're just going to go with it. I'm just going to wipe down any excess. I think I've got some good coverage with the Clementine there. So let's go ahead and do the process again. So we've got the platen hooked to the chase, my die cut machine, and let's run it through. Let's see how this turned out. And if that isn't just lovely, oh, friends, this is super fun. All right, gonna give this a clean. So you have seen this process now. So what I'm going to do for the rest of these colors is I'm going to kind of uh, just give little clips of each color coming through. So I am going to do the inking up and the running through. And so you'll just see the color reveal each time for the rest of the colors. Okay, so here we are with the sweet mustard layer. Look at how that looks. It looks like I actually got it a little close to the orange layer. So we'll see how that die cuts. I may have to do one of those layers over again, but no worries, not a big deal. So here is the key lime layer. Our little rainbow is coming along quite beautifully. All right, so with this next color, this is where I actually off camera realized that this wasn't going to work. So I'm salvaging the colors I can salvage off of this one because I know I want to die cut them. But I went ahead and grabbed another panel. I knew the yellow layer wasn't going to work, so I redid it. And then I'm starting again and I'm putting a little bit more space between them so that they will be easier to die cut. And this is my aquamarine layer, and we just have one layer left to go. All right, so here's our final layer, candy violet. And look at how amazing that turned out. Let me get it untaped here. Perfect. Okay, so I think I can salvage the red, the orange, and the green from the first. I know that guy is just not going to work out. So then I have the three other colors. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to wipe this down real quick. And like I mentioned previously, I've just been using rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. Just get it at your local pharmacy or Target or Walmart, wherever you shop. Just the 70%. I've been using it to clean, and so far I'm not having any issues with it. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, I don't know that that is a condoned method of cleaning. It's just what I'm going with, friends, and we'll see. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if it's okay. It's been fine on stencils. I don't know why it wouldn't be fine on these, but if I notice anything wrong in the future, I'll let you know. Okay, for now, I think we're done with BetterPress. So I'm going to go ahead and just set this aside. And we are going to do some die cutting. So as I mentioned, we've got the die here, which as you can see, it was not going to work out cutting out that yellow because I was going to end up getting the other colors in it. But I am pretty sure I can get the red, orange, and the green, and then cut the yellow from here and do the other pieces. So let's go ahead and grab our plates. I am going to cut this guy with my Gemini too. So I will line up one and get it taped down for you. And then I'll probably just do the rest of this off camera and you'll see all the die cutting results at once. So I am just taking my time to get this nice and lined up. I don't want to cover over too much of the paper just because I don't want to accidentally pull it up. So got that lined up. I'm going to take this to my die cut machine and we will be back with all of it done here in just a minute. And then with all of the die cutting done, we have our beautiful rainbow for the medallion border. And I think that this is going to just create funnest little rainbow cascade in my card. I think that this is just super fun. I really, really love how this turned out. And it's a great way to showcase that you can use press plates with your dye inks as well. There are some limitations to them, mostly just being other techniques. So you can't do water-based techniques with these. So it's really just using press plates as is. But when you're looking at borders like this and lots of the other images, they don't always need a water-based technique with. They're lovely just as is. And so I am just so thrilled with how this turned out. So I am going to, off camera, I'm going to go ahead and die cut a couple pieces, and then we will start assembling this card together. All right, you're going to see that I cut a couple of elements from our wraparound elements, the double bow, and a little bit of twine cut from our new ivory glitter cardstock. We're really excited about this glitter cardstock. So, and of course, you all know ivory is my favorite one. So I'm really excited about it. And then I also cut out just a nice panel. This will fit within the confines of an A2 sized card. It has a little bit of matting on the outside. And that is what I am going to adhere my fantastic rainbow to. So the way that we're going to work the rainbow is I am just going to add gold at the bottom or at the base, as close to the base as I can get. And then we're going to put liquid glue on top because I want to give my, I want this to have like, somewhat of like a pinata feel almost. Let's see. And so I want it to come down as close to the bottom as possible. So I'm wanting to use up as much of the space as I can. And you'll notice it comes off on the edges. And when all is said and done, when we're finished here, I'll just trim all those edges off. So it really didn't matter. Some of the edges didn't end up perfectly spaced when I was doing the Better Press technique with it. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to do that with every single layer. So we started with the candy violet layer. And now we are moving on to the aquamarine. I am just setting up that thin piece of foam as close to the bottom as I can. And then I'm applying a little bit of liquid glue at the top and doing what I can to create somewhat of a pinata effect. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the next color and I'm going to cover up the kind of matching elements there. And I feel like that is helps me get really perfect placement with each of these elements here. And just give that liquid glue a little bit of time to set in, and then we'll move on to the next layer. So I finished my little rainbow. It ended up a little bit bigger than I expected, but that is okay. So I will just pivot a little. I didn't need to add liquid glue up here. So we will just kind of wipe that off. It'll still be a little sticky, but that's okay. So you'll notice that I've got all of this excess here. We are going to go ahead and trim this off because while it's okay that it's a little longer than I expected, I don't need it to be wider. So we'll just go ahead and trim those off and call them good. And because I arranged them a little bit wider than I meant to or expected it to turn out, I'm not great with eyeballing measurement. So that is okay though. Because it ended up a little bit longer, I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to trim underneath this purple layer. So I don't have that sticking out. And then it just looks like we have this fantastic rainbow pinata, which I think is so fun. And then when I go to adhere it to my card, my little bow is going to sit up somewhere up here, and it's just going to be really fun. Before we get to assembling it, we need a sentiment. So let's go ahead and let's go back to our letterpress and let's letterpress one of those sentiments from the favorite things sentiments that's part of our press plate release. I'm going to get my desk set up real quick and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we are going to use one of these larger sentiments. This is the one that says, I hope today is filled with your favorite things. Thought that was kind of perfect for the birthday slash celebration theme that I was going for. I've picked that white cotton paper from Spellbinders so that it would match the paper that I used for the rainbow. I'm going to go ahead and let's see detail black in use because it's really awesome. So I've got my cube. My cube is nice and inked up. And I'm going to use it just to ink up this sentiment here, doing the same thing as I did with all of the other ink. I'm being gentle, but I'm doing that nice little spin technique. Don't worry if you get a little bit on your magnetic plate. It might stain it, but it will clean up, and your magnetic plate will work just fine. Um, all right, I feel like I've got pretty good coverage there. I am, however, going to take a damp cloth. I think we would be fine, but this is just Leah's type A personality coming through. I'm just going to wipe down that big area of excess ink we've got. So we'll go ahead and take the platen. We're going to place it over top, and then I'll be right back with the results. Okay, so here we are. And look at how amazing this turned out. I really wish the video could showcase the impression that this makes in that cotton paper. It is just absolutely stunning, friends. All right, I think this is going to look lovely with my sentiment there. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of cleaning real quick. Detail black does stain. Channel a little bit. I'm going to use some alcohol here and get off what I can, but that's pretty much where you see the black smudges. That's detail black, but it does not affect the performance of the machine or your plates at all. It just shows that you're using your product, using your machines, and I think that's awesome. It doesn't bother me if things aren't completely stained because it showcases that we are using the things that we've purchased, right? Okay, so that guy's good to go. Let's go ahead and set this aside and let's get our sentiment die cut real quick. As mentioned, there is a die set, and every single sentiment has a die. So I'm going to go ahead and use that today. Get some tape, and get this nice and lined up. And then we're pretty much ready to start assembling our card. Now, we've had some people ask, when you die cut the letterpress, does it affect that impression? Or does it like flatten it out? And from my experience thus far, the answer to that is absolutely not. It doesn't affect that impression at all. So that, of course, always may vary from die cut machine to die cut machine, depending on the amount of pressure. But so far, I'm having fantastic results. All right, let's see how that turned out. And that is just fabulous. So it cuts out um, pretty close to the sentiment. It's got full of these little Chad pieces to make it look more realistic. And if that isn't just fantastic, I don't know what is. All right, let's go ahead and get our card assembled. So I'm going bold today, friends. I've got a bright red card. Now, here's the thing about my video. For some reason, red cardstock always looks like neon, but it actually matches this candy apple color like perfectly when I look at it in real life. So I'm not really sure the reason for the neon red, but I assure you it's not neon red. It's just the way that my video camera is capturing it for some reason. So I'm sure that the photos that you'll see here in a little bit of this card will make it look a little bit more realistic. So I am just going to go ahead and adhere this whole panel down with some tape runner. This is the Easy Runner White Permanent. You can do it however you want. You could use glue. If you really wanted to add more dimension, you could pop it up with some foam tape. I actually think I am going to go ahead and add just a little bit of liquid glue right here to help it stay in place. And then we're just going to center this lovely, somewhat pinata inspired panel to the card. So as you can see, it has a little bit bigger of a mat on the left and right, smaller on the top and bottom, just based on the way that the size worked out. But I actually think that's really kind of fun. So I think that turned out really, really fun. So then I've got my little bow pieces here. And I'm just trying to figure out where I want to place them. They'll be easy to snip once I place it. So I'm not really worried that I've already gone ahead and put it down into place. I do want a little bit of that to show on each side. So my bow is probably going to end up about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just use some liquid glue to glue this into place here. It's okay if it doesn't go edge to edge. Oh, and of course, I flipped it on my glass mat. Thankfully, glass mats are very easy to clean. That's the best part about them. And then I'm going to just sneak this guy in here. I don't want to cover him too much, but I don't want it to be on top of everything. So I do really want the letterpress to be the star of the show here. And now I'm going to fluff my bow a little bit. And then we're going to get this guy in place. So what I'm going to do, I am going to add liquid glue onto the back of him. And I think my tweezers from Pinkfresh will reach in here far enough so that I can really, yeah, it does, press this into place. And we are going to let that sit there. While it does that, I will snip the edges off here. So we are good to go on those little edges. And then we've got our sentiment, which I am just going to adhere to the front somehow. I've already put little thin foam strips on the back. So while our ribbon is setting in place, let's go ahead and remove those. And we can get our sentiment adhered down. Let's see. I like it. Like that. Make sure it's not really. We're good. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to let this glue sit here, and I will be back with my jewels of choice momentarily. Okay, so what I have decided on for jewels is I think that my best matches are in the glitter drops. I am going to use Scarlet, Butterscotch, Gold, Aquamarine, and Amethyst. I almost forgot the name of that one. And I think that these are going to look really lovely on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere them down off camera, and then I will show you what I did once I'm done. So there is a reason why I didn't showcase all of these jewels being added on. Because one, it's a slow process. I was using all of these tiny little glitter drops that take a little bit of time to flip over and find and get in place. So I figured I would spare you that long, boring process and just showcase the last little bit coming on. And then in the end, you can see how it all turned out. So we don't have a perfect match for yellow, but the gold worked really lovely with the sweet mustard. And then we went ahead and put an iridescent clear drop in the middle of the bow to finish off this really fun, colorful BetterPress birthday card. So I think that this showcases so beautifully that your BetterPress projects don't have to be just neutral. They don't have to always have water-based techniques. They can be fun and colorful and still have that elegant and lovely WordPress feel to them. So that is my first foray into the BetterPress LetterPress project, featuring all of the new Pinkfresh Studio press plates. I am pretty thrilled with how these turned out. I am excited to continue to learn and find all of the fun ways that you can use press plates on the BetterPress system. One thing I did not showcase here, and I know we'll have a lot of questions on that, is if you can hot foil with your BetterPress press plates. And the easy answer to that is yes. The more complicated answer to that is if you accidentally foil your BetterPress plates, they will no longer be able to be used for BetterPress. So they just will become a hot foil. So foil at your own risk. I am not quite ready to do that yet because I am notorious for accidentally foiling my plates. So I think I'm going to wait a little bit before I get into that if I ever do. Um, but it is something they do foil. But if you accidentally foil the design, they will no longer work for BetterPress. Something to keep in mind when you're trying that out. Be extra careful. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my little intro into BetterPress today and a look at all of the new press plates Pinkfresh Studio is offering. Um, so don't forget today. So this is release day. So we've got all of the products are in our online shop for purchase. You'll find a link to that in my video description below. But we also have a whole bunch of prizes and inspiration going on. So there's a blog hop going on today, tons of prizes available on that one. There are grand prizes in multiple places as well of the entire release. And then tomorrow we'll have an Instagram hop starting as well with more inspiration and even more prizes. So tons of chances to win, tons of inspiration to see, and I hope you'll check it all out. All of the links that you will need for this are in my video description below. And that you guys have a great rest of your day.